We are so excited that the North Face and Petzl are sponsoring this year's climbing session at Kendal Mountain Festival 2023. So if you haven't already got your tickets, make sure to click the link in the description and grab them today. And if you want a little sneak peek of last year's climb session, then we have a clip now featuring Aidan Roberts. And yeah, we really hope you enjoy the video. Thank you.
What a day.
Welcome Aidan to the stage. Well, hey Aidan.
Hello. Hello.
So to start with, why don't you take us on a trip down memory lane? Now, I think you started climbing at 13, which earlier I said was late, and Rob kind of lost his mind a little bit. But yeah, take us down climbing memory lane.
Yeah, kind of, especially I started off doing a lot of competitions, so compared to competitors at the time, that was seen as relatively late. But yeah, I actually born and bred about half an hour down the road in Central Lake District, so I kind of grew up like climbing mountains and trees, so I didn't really start climbing until quite late, but it came quite intuitively when I did, and it was kind of almost like I didn't know why it took me so long to get there, but yeah, relatively late, I guess, for competitors.
And within, a couple of years, you'd won the Junior European Championships. How?
Yeah. Well, it makes it sound like I had a impressive competition career, but I did peak right at the very start. But yeah, no, I started out as a competitive climber. It just kind of went well at the start and went downhill.
I somehow don't think that the theme of this session with you here today, Aidan, is going to be one of underachievement.
Definitely not. No. Why did you decide that comps weren't for you? Because you've been exclusively climbing outside for a few years now? 2, 3?
Yeah, about 2019 was my transition out of comps, really. There's a lot of reasons why I stopped competing. I think partly it wasn't like I wasn't enjoying competitions. I had a really fun time traveling. I met amazing people. It was more how passionate I was about rock climbing, which really drew me to that. So I definitely find time outside and the connection with nature, which outdoor climbing facilitates, really important to me. So it definitely felt like quite a natural progression. And I think partly there's an intensity to competition climbing, which I felt somewhat detracted from my passion within the moment by moment experience. I think especially if you're doing international competitions, usually you're quite focused when you're there, and or you'd expect if you're doing internationals, it's very comps are inherently very result orientated, and I think I struggled to detach that from my moment by moment just enjoyment of the sport. So I think, yeah, I struggled with that a bit, and I think one of the things like which outdoor climbing then offered, which I think was really cool, is like how just like there is absolute entire absence of any need to be competitive as well. Like our experience when we're climbing outside is independent to us, and it's like between us and the rock, and I think that's really cool. You can climb with anyone of any ability, and like you can kind of share a similar experience. And yeah, I kind of found that was like something which also like alleviated any distraction for me, so that I could like kind of climb living in the moment and kind of just be really passionate about that. And yeah, I was never that good at detracting like my long-term goals from my like session by session. So yeah, it was something I struggled with. So it's been really nice. I've never looked back, really.
Aidan, you're like the most chilled, driven person I have ever met. I'm not sure whether that's even a question. It's just a statement. But I mean, like, I think if I felt as chilled as you were describing all of that, I'm not sure I'd have got out of bed, let alone like, I mean, like, I don't know, yeah, done what you've done. You blend, like, basically, actually what seems to be outwardly and sometimes quite like a relaxed approach with actually a really methodical and driven approach.
Yeah, no, like as in like I wouldn't confuse this with like I am driven. I'm like very like passionate, and I'm like a big advocate for goal setting. So like I am quite specific and detailed with that process. So like I have things that I do want to achieve, and like that is something I definitely put a lot of thought to, and I consider that and like the motivations behind those. But I think I've been working a lot more on my psychology recently, and like I think a really important part of that is like when I then go to like a climbing place and like I'm in an amazing place, it's important for me to kind of live in that moment, not just be like solely attached to that result. I found it would detract from my experience. Like I'd get frustrated. I don't really climb well when I'm frustrated. Or I usually like climb best under like a state of like relaxation. So I usually like have quite like a meditative approach to climbing. So it was never very helpful for me, but also it just like enriched my experience so much more if I could like in the moment act without my attachment to the result. But it doesn't like, it's different to being like not setting goals or having things I want to achieve.
I mean, last night when we realized we were going to be talking to Aidan, I jokingly sent him a message saying, question 1, just how glorious did it feel to climb Fontainebleau? And we weren't actually ever going to ask him this, and I'm not asking him now because it's a terrible question.
It kind of feels like you are right now. But that's okay.
I can see Aidan squirm because for him, it's not I don't get the impression, Aidan, that it's like it's a terrible question, but it's not about that for you. There's more than, it's almost like cheapens it by just bringing a grade into the mix. And we'll come on to that, problem later, but.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting distinction, like as in, regardless of what you, like, name a problem or grade a problem, like, the actual experience and, like, feat of doing that thing is, like, unchanging. So, like, I don't know, it, like, me doing that and that climb, like, that experience is kind of like something, like, it's a memory for me. It's, like, something that I did and is unchanging, so it doesn't, like, the rest of it is kind of independent of that. But yeah, it didn't feel like I wasn't on the climb thinking,
are you glad
wow.
I raised that question?
I'm struggling a little bit here.
So I guess we've kind of learnt a little bit about your mentality as a climber, but I want to take it to the physical side. So I've known you for a very long time, and when I first met you, I'd say you were more of a technical climber, and I think you'd class yourself as weak, which is hard to imagine.
No, I was weak.
But I remember we were on a Font trip back in 2016, and you actually shattered your heel on our first day climbing.
Yeah, first climb, I remember it well.
That was a very sad day. But when I broke my ankle, you texted me saying, "Don't worry, Mol, it's okay. Shattering my heel was the best thing that ever happened to my climbing." Now I want to know, were you just being nice? Or were you being serious, and how did that shape you as a climber?
Yeah, no, I was being genuine. Same foot, actually. I think, like, I was definitely quite thoughtful at the time about, like, how I could manage that situation for the better. And like you say, before that, I was definitely much more of like a technical climber, or like, but I actually don't think that was, we mentioned like starting relatively late. I don't think that was down to like an excess amount of climbing experience. I think I'd only been climbing for like maybe 3 or 4 years when I had that injury. And so I think that like kind of like technical approach, or like the appeal of technical climbs, was more down to like a more analytical mindset. And so it felt like that was kind of something that I could develop even post-injury. But I had like I think about 4 months where I couldn't wear a climbing shoe, and so there's not really anywhere to hide from being weak when you can't use your legs. So yeah, I had about 4 months of just like fingerboarding and campusing on my board. And then when I came back to climbing, I was kind of like, had the same climbing mind, but I was like in a different body, and it was quite a surreal experience. But yeah, I think I definitely wouldn't have, like, it was definitely the most noticeable change within my climbing, and feel like I probably wouldn't have had a phase that would have like developed me so much physically had that not happened. So not that you actually need to get any stronger, you're pretty strong already.
I don't know, your fingers are pretty strong. That's a good goal.
Thank you for watching the video. We really hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to watch the full 2022 climbing session, you can catch it now on the Kendal Mountain Player. Right now we are running a 3 free-day trial. So if you want to get a little bit of a sneak peek of what is on our player, then make sure to subscribe now. And yeah, click the link in the description below for more information.